Welcome to Abundance. You guessed it, a podcast dedicated to all things surrounding dance. I am Kristen.
And I am Hannah, and we are two best friends who are brought together by this art form.
Please join us in 5, 6, 7, 8.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have the wonderful Elena Kunikova with us today, and I've had the pleasure of taking many ballet classes at Steps with her ever since I moved to the city this past October. I can honestly say that she's one of the best teachers I've ever taken from. I try to take from her at least once a week. And Elena is just someone very special. She exudes warmth and compassion for everyone in the room. She makes an effort to know her students and puts a great amount of care into everything that she does. Today, we are honored to speak with her on our podcast. So welcome, Elena.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you, Kristen, for your interest in my work.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you here today, Elena. Hannah has raved about you, and I'm excited to learn more about yourself and your career. So to get us started today, could you just tell us a little bit about your time as a student at the Vaganova Ballet Academy in the School of Mariinsky Ballet in St. Petersburg, Russia, which, wow, is such an incredible background to have.
Well, I entered the school at the age of 9. I was accepted to the Vaganova Academy, passing a few rounds of enormous competition, of enormous audition. One of the reasons for this popularity was that because ballet dancer was considered a very coveted job in Russia. It was considered prestigious and glamorous. And at the same time, dancers were traveling abroad, which was impossible for the rest of the population. So studying at the school was rather hard, especially in the younger grades, younger classes, early classes. Our ballet training began at 8:30 in the morning. Our teachers were very strict, and kids were reminded that everybody were accepted conditionally and can be dismissed at any point. Our grades consisted of 3 parts. Professional or rather physical ability, it's, extension, turn out, feet, jump, musicality, diligence, and technique or performance. All my teachers were Vaganova students, and I can proudly say that I learned from the best. As I said, studying was hard, but at the same time, we had a lot of fun. I was lucky that at the time I was at the school, Mariinsky or Kirov Company, as it was called at the time, were having classes and rehearsals at the school because the studios at the theater were not built yet. So we picked into the studios where great dancers like Baryshnikov, Makarova, Kolpakova were giving corrections by their teachers. You can imagine that our idols were giving corrections. And of course, great fun was to perform all these children parts at in ballets at the Mariinsky and Mikhailovsky Theater. And that was also so important as a learning experience. I was blessed with a good memory for movement. So by the age of 14, I already knew all the Sleeping Beauty and Don Quixote by heart. You learn stagecraft, you learn etiquette, you learn to acquire a collection of details and nuances, which actually came so handy when I started to stage ballets myself. And I was a very diligent and hardworking student, and my efforts paid off. I danced Sugar Plum Fairy, as it was called in Russia, Masha the Princess, in the Mariinsky production of a Nutcracker, a great honor given to the best students.
Wow.
And then I was accepted to one of the most prestigious companies in the country, Mikhailovsky Theater, or it used to be called Mali at this time. Mali means smaller because Kirov or Mariinsky was bigger and our company was smaller. Just 130 people, you know.
Wow. And Elena, can you talk about your experience as a ballerina with St. Petersburg Mikhailovsky? I don't know if I pronounced that right. Theater ballet.
Very well, Mikhailovsky.
Yeah, Mikhail.
You know, I actually wanted to dance with Mikhailovsky because it had a very interesting repertoire, along with all the classics. It was known for a lot of experimental and contemporary works, as well as very stylish revivals of old ballets. So the repertoire was very, very diverse. And I was fortunate to dance in all the classics, to do a lot of experimental and acrobatic choreography. And, you know, and did a good variety of roles, you know, like every role for me was a standout role, which can lead to the next one or it cannot. And I was a very enthusiastic performer, and I would take any role and say thank you. Luckily, I was, as I said, blessed with a good memory. I learned choreography quickly. I was very sturdy. I had very, very few injuries, and I was always ready to perform. I was happy, maybe a little bit overworked, but happy. As I said, the repertoire was very diverse, and I was kind of had a reputation as a ballerina dramatica, dancing strong female characters like Carmen, Lady Macbeth, Cleopatra, and such.
Yeah, and I feel like you can just see how happy you are to even do, you know, when we're in class and you talk about like, oh, this is a ballet from, you know, so-and-so, just the way that you perform, even as a teacher, you can just tell you're very strong. And I don't know, I admire that about you. So hearing you talk about
Thank you. Thank you. You know, dance has been my life. It has been my passion. It has been my object of study. So I'm very happy when I can pass it on.
And I must add for our audience who cannot see you that your face just has been lighting up this whole time. Speaking about your training and your career, it really shows through your passion for ballet. And it's incredible the background you do have. And it's wonderful to hear too that, you know, during your training, it was still fun and enjoyable, because I know that those schools you trained at are very intense schools.
Oh yeah, you know, I can, you know, we were happy students. Of course, we worked a lot. We had a lot of dance disciplines like character dance, historical ballroom dance, acting, you know, for example, like students at regular schools play soccer, right? We were trying to outdo each other in a mad scene of Giselle. That's how it was free time at the school, you know, and we all loved it. So we were very, very much involved in the dance life of the school, company, the city.
I'm curious if you have anything that you would attribute to being so successful in your career without having any major injuries, because I feel like that is kind of rare for the type of career that you had, dancing such big and intense roles. Do you feel like there was anything that really helped you get by without experiencing any major injuries?
I think just being in shape all the time, you know.
Yeah.
possibly, and had a good training.
Yeah, that's very true. Good technique will do wonders in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. And did you have a favorite role that you performed when you were dancing professionally?
I loved every role I did.
Yeah.
As I said, I love those interesting characters I performed, and I like small roles. I like to perform in children ballets. I very much like to perform in comedies. There is such a rare kind of ballets these days, comedic ballets. I love doing.
Yeah, that's so great. It's fun to hear you talk about it. I also just think it's so interesting too that I mean, I've had the pleasure of, I feel like, working with you during, the online experience, but then also in person at Steps. And even with the mask on, you do everything so full out and so beautifully. And I don't know, it's just great. You're just so
Thank you.
You really are. And you're so expressive. And that's why I think, I wonder if all of these characters that you played over the years have kind of become who you are today.
Of course, what we do definitely leave its stamp on us.
Definitely.
It's wonderful. So, Elena, we know now that you are here in the US. So, did you retire dancing over in Europe and then make your way over to the United States, or have you done any performing here in the States?
When I arrived to New York, I danced for a short period of time as a guest star, did some galas and nutcrackers, but kind of teaching and staging engagements were coming my way, and I concentrated on that. I like doing that, and I understood that it's my future. So I concentrated on teaching and staging rather quickly, rather soon.
Is that something you knew you always wanted to do?
Yes, I actually started to teach even when I was perform in St. Petersburg. I was working with younger dancers. I was coaching them. I was teaching company classes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I feel like this is a good breaking point. So we will be right back with Miss Elena in just a moment. Here's a word from our sponsor. Alrighty, and we are back. So we kind of touched upon this, but over the past 20 years, Elena, you've staged classical ballets on numerous well-known dance companies. Can you talk a little bit about your experience doing so, and more specifically with Les Ballet Trocadero?
Gladly. I was fortunate to work with many wonderful companies and artists. Among them, for example, Staatsballet Berlin, I was invited by Vladimir Malakov, then artistic director of the company, to stage a whole evening of old classical ballets. As I mentioned that in my company, many of old ballets were revived by the dancers who danced them early in the century. So, and many of them are rarely seen outside of Russia. So I always happy the opportunity to pass this knowledge on. And I got to work with wonderful artists there, like Yana Salenko or Evgenia Obraztsova, who is now a principal ballerina with the Bolshoi Ballet. She was guesting with the company at that point. I worked with Dance Theater of Harlem, teaching and coaching, and Virginia Johnson asked me to choreograph a classical divertissement for them, which I did. I called it Divertimento, which was my tribute to classical ballet. I featured three major amploirs: a classical dancer, comedic dancer, and a romantic dancer like Sprite or Vision. And I worked with Ballet West, also choreographed Paquita for them, and then my Divertimento, my ballet, Also had a wonderful experience dancing with this great company. And actually, a few months ago, artistic director Adam Sklut asked me to rehearse with the company the revival of My Paquita, because he felt he wanted to bring this ballet back after this difficult period, difficult time, because he felt that the audience missed beauty. So I had a great opportunity to rehearse with the company over Zoom, which worked wonderfully.
It's amazing what we can do now, right?
Yes, even stage rehearsals. We had stage rehearsals, so it was quite exciting. And as you mentioned, I worked a lot with Ballet Trocadero. I staged many ballets for them, and I loved working with the Trocs because I love comedy. You know, we do not see many comedy ballets, unfortunately, these days. And my approach was to make them technically stronger, such that they look funny but not sloppy. And also such that every piece would be stylistically correct, because even within classical choreography, there are so many different styles. For example, like elegant and passionate Spanish style of Don Quixote and Paquita, right? Or mannered and cute style of Harlequinade, which is choreographed in the style of Commedia dell'arte, right? Or pathetic and heroic mood of Soviet period ballets like Laurencia, you know. So that gave me an opportunity to work on various styles and to show their value, show what could be funny and interesting within the style, right? And kind of the result of our collaboration obviously was pretty good. The company got the best classical choreography award from London Critics Circle, and they've been popular all over the world.
Yes, they are a big company. I'm curious, actually, Elena, have you ever heard of the company Ballet LOL? They kind of have a similar comedy aspect as the Trucks. Have you heard of them before?
No, not yet. Thank you for letting me know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the former artistic director of the school I grew up training at in Connecticut, his name is Victor Trevino, and he was the artistic director of that company. It was all male touring company where they did a lot of comedy ballets. So
yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah, I think that comedy ballets, like you said, there's not as many in existence, but I think that is a really cool and interesting way to try to engage people outside the dance or outside the ballet world. So people who might not always go to the theater to see a ballet, kind of making it a little bit more relatable to kind of the everyday person. I don't know. Yeah, great. So you have taught at many different schools. Hannah told me, so obviously you're teaching at Steps, you've taught at SAB, the School of American Ballet, as well as Juilliard, and you mentioned Ballet West as well. So with this broad range of experience, what do you believe, as you've been in all these different environments and in front of different students constantly, what makes a good teacher, in your opinion?
Well, what makes a good teacher? Probably the same as what makes a good doctor. To determine a problem, to make a diagnosis, and to determine the course of treatment, you know, to determine what is the best way to help each student to become her and his best.
Yeah, I like that. So just short and sweet, but I would say very, very accurate.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. I like that as well. I would also just point out that I think what separates you from, I don't know, maybe some other teachers is I feel like your unique ability to approach each individual person or student, and you really get to know them, and I feel like you give a lot of individual feedback and correction. It's not mean, yes, of course, you have a general correction maybe to the whole class, but you really spend a lot of time with each person, getting to know them, getting to know how they dance. And I think that's something um, that maybe more teachers could take on and embody, because that's something that, I mean, as a dancer, that's what I really have picked up on and what I appreciate learning from as you've been teaching. I don't know.
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, I am trying to help everybody I could, you know, and I see that people who take classes, they're passionate about dance, and I'm just trying to do my best.
Yeah, well, and
You
that's
know,
all.
I also, this light, I can mention that in a way, it's also, I learned it from my teachers. And because in Russia, we had a very, very personal approach to coaching. You know, and I work with wonderful artists, which helped me to become a coach. I am, you know, to really determine what each student, what are each student's needs and how to bring them to success.
That's great. That's so great.
And what is kind of, you know, there are so many aspects of it. What are the best angles? And what are the best lines this or that dancer can show, you know? It's like phrasing, you know, what some dancers tend to be dance big, some dancers are more kind of have intimate, I would say, style, and you help them to dance their best way in the style which suits them best.
Yeah, I really like that. As much as, right, when we have a corps de ballet, we're trying to get everyone to match one another. We all bring unique gifts. And I think the ballet world is working towards being more open to individuality and not necessarily being a cookie cutter dancer. And so I think that's really great to try to find that within someone and really illuminate it.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. It's like a detective work in a way, you know, it's, I really enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's evident. And a question that just kind of popped into my head just now, if you don't mind me asking, did you get any like pedagogy work when you were in Russia, or even when you came to the United States, like how to teach a class, or did you just kind of learn your own teaching style on your own?
You know, as I said, I was a very busy dancer, so I didn't go to any colleges or courses, but I had wonderful teachers, you know, and ever since I was a child, I had kind of an analytic mind, if I may say. You know, so I learned from the best, and I learned to be my own teacher. You know, I worked a lot on my technique and art, and I worked with wonderful coaches. Even when I was dancing with the company, I worked with a private coach. You know, of course, and as we say, you learn, one learns from one's best student, one learns from one's worst student. You see what works and what doesn't, and that's, you know,
Yeah.
with my experience helped me kind of to work out the way I teach now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I bet over the years you've kind of developed, you know, your classes and what you like to teach from a consistent basis too. Because I know you have, after taking a bunch of your classes, I know there's certain things that we do every day to warm up, and there's different things that you'll say. And so I just noticed that you have your own, I don't know, teaching style, but as you said, you've been influenced by many, many people as well. You're a great teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying not to forget how to be a dancer, when what is important to work on, you know, what are the body needs, what we need to stretch, what we need to keep strong, what we need to work on. And yes, I do give some similar exercises every time, and some different combinations and exercises as class progresses. And I also trying to keep kind of that, take the temperature of the class, if we may say that, and see what are my students' needs are.
Yeah, I think that's a really important component, that last little bit. Last year, when I was at NYU, I went through the full ABT National Training Curriculum teacher training program and got fully certified. And while there was a lot of detail kind of provided within the curriculum, at the end of the day, it really just did boil down to, you have to look at your students that you have in front of you. And while there might be certain kind of little formulas or tips and tricks, or, set steps that you should be teaching for certain age groups or levels, at the end of the day, it really is dependent on just being present in that moment and working with what you have, because
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure for you too, it must be very interesting, because a place like Steps is often drop-in basis. So you're not having always the same group every week, right? It's always something different. So that, I'm sure.
Yes, I would say that teaching this kind of classes is the most difficult thing to do.
I can imagine.
As when you have a group which needs you very aware of, it's much easier when you have a group of various the kind of dancers, from professionals to amateurs to old and younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And going off of that question, I want to have you tell us a little bit about Ballet Atelier. Is that how you pronounce it, Elena?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Atelier.
Atelier. That's right. Okay. So this is your platform where your online classes take off of, and you said on your website, it says a place where things are created or repaired and fixed. When and why did you create it? Did the pandemic spark Ballet Atelier?
Well, it was a long dream of mine to create a ballet atelier, and yes, pandemic did spark it, because when it started, my students whom I was teaching and coaching were asking me to continue working with them, and I rolled my sleeves and created Ballet Atelier, made a website, and it's been wonderful for me as well to stay in touch with my students and to keep helping them. And as I said, I did it amazing that it allows us so many different ways of working in a dance world, because I've been teaching, I've been coaching dancers for performances, I've been coaching young dancers for competitions, I've been given classes, I was rehearsing my ballet with Ballet West over Zoom. It's a great opportunity to stay in touch with kind of ballet community and to stay active and keep working. I believe for both, for me and the students and dancers.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that idea of keeping connection. And it's hard as a dancer. Oftentimes we do have to travel and move to new locations in order to keep progressing our career. And so to be able to still keep that network online, that's really wonderful.
Yeah, I've been truly enjoying it, and planning to do even more.
Amazing.
Yes, I've been doing it all my life, and now it's a new format, which is so interesting to master.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think the pandemic kind of put things in front of us and we just had to work with it. And I think you're doing a great job of that. And also just to go off of how online has given us more connection to other people. I think it's fun that you can have someone from New York City taking class, and you can also have someone from Italy or Europe or, or wherever taking.
Absolutely, Hannah, as you saw in my classes, the geography is so vast. I do have students from Italy, from England, Brazil, Singapore, Russia, and all 50 states of our country.
Right, and that wouldn't
This is amazing. This is wonderful.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be able to happen if we didn't have this platform, right? It's not like everyone could be in your class in person at the same time. So, great.
It's challenging, but at the same time, it's exciting, and I truly enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess to wrap up our time with you, I'm just curious what your favorite part or your most treasured part of teaching ballet is. And I think you kind of covered this over our conversation, but I'm just curious to hear maybe if you have a little bit more to say about that.
Well, probably the moment of discovery by my students that, that's much easier than I thought. Oh, that's how it comes out beautiful. Oh, that's how my foot doesn't sickle, or, that's discovering something new, discovering oneself, and helping my students to discover that they can be the ways they can become much better dancers. I think it's very, very rewarding for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I can speak personally to that. I feel like you said a correction to me, and then I've implied, or what's the right word? I have embodied the correction and worked on it, and then it feels a lot better. And that's
oh, so wonderful. Thank you.
That's great. So yeah, you like the aha moments, if you will, that people have. That's awesome. Yeah, that's interesting.
Thank you for sharing, Elena. It's been
Thank you so much again for your interest in my work. I truly enjoyed our conversation.
Of course. Yes. Thank you so much.
Well, yes, thank you.
Thanks for tuning into Abundance. We appreciate your support. We hope to have PK'd your interest. Feel free to contact us at abundancepodcast5678@gmail.com and give us feedback on what you'd like to hear. That is Abundance without parentheses. Go dance yourself silly. Bye for now.
A special thank you to Richard DiFiore for our lovely podcast tune and Matt Mellish for our cover art.